life, David actually goes into this in one of the interviews I watched. He said that Albania was ruled by this guy that was taken over by ex-Soviet Union guys who didn't consider the Soviet Union true communist. So they detracted from the Soviet Union, invaded Albania, took over the government, and basically the guy who ran Albania during the Soviet Union era, the Cold War, during the Cold War, he basically kept stockpiling ammo and weapons and tanks and all this kind of military stuff because he believed that Russia would invade him and the Soviet Union in general. Because detractors, he's like, no, they're going to come after me. There's no way they're not. And it was kind of like in the Bible where Cain, who kills Abel, like builds this giant city with giant walls, and he just stays there because he thinks God's going to get like back at him somehow because he's scared. It's kind of like a scenario here where like, this guy takes over Albania and just sucks it dry of all resources and then builds up this giant military and stockpiles all this stuff throughout the years. And then basically by the time he's done, the Soviet Union is over and peace is already done and he has nothing. Then he kind of falls off of power after that.
Was this...
This was a real life like...
yeah, I know, but I'm going to ask you a question. This guy, by any chance, was his name Hoxha?
I actually have no idea. He just said it was, he might have said the name. Hoxha. How do you spell that?
Hoxha.
H-A. Hoxha. Enver Hoxha?
Enver Hoxha.
Was an Albanian communist politician who was the ruler of Albania from 1944 until his death in 1985.
Sounds like the guy to me.
Sounds like the guy. So
the reason why I bring that up is because I thought it was really funny. Is I didn't know you were going to mention that little bit of history in connection with the whole preparing for the war that never came. Because while we were watching the movie, I ended up Googling that guy.
Oh yeah,
because of an unrelated Facebook post.
Really?
Like a Facebook post that had nothing to do with the movie at all. And I was just like, Hoxha? What's
Hoxha?
And so I ended up Googling Hoxha just because of that. And yeah, basically, Hoxha had a falling out with the Maoists, I believe.
Ooh. Okay.
And over their views on post-Stalin communism. And so Hoxha took the position that post-Stalin communism was not real communism.
Yeah, I did not know you looked that up. That's really interesting.
And what's interesting too is a little bit after I looked up that guy, there was a character in the movie with the same first name.
Really?
There was a character named Enver in the movie, like a few minutes after I looked up this guy, all because of an unrelated Facebook post I saw.
Yeah. So, just a little bit of history there as a context. So, the guy, Bradley Cooper's character, I just forgot his name. But anyway, Bradley Cooper's character then makes a deal with Jonah Hill and Miles Teller, and he's like, hey, I got all your stuff. I know the son of the prince or prime minister of the current Albanian government, and he's friends with me. I have connections there. Basically, I can get you your ammo because it's all stockpiled in warehouses. So he's able to give him the ammo. Well, pay. He's able to pay for it, and then they go to Albania. And just really interesting how this all starts forming, because this is the biggest deal of AEY's company history, which has been around for probably a year at this point or something. I don't know.
And also too, it's one of the biggest deals, period.
Yeah.
It's even bigger than a lot of deals that these larger companies were grabbing up. AEY was formed to go after the crumbs, and now all of a sudden they're going after a deal that's big even by a large company standards.
A big $1 billion corporation. Yeah, it's the kind of deal billions of companies that are billions of dollars in size would go after, and it's kind of crazy. So they go after this deal. They do it. Or they get ready. They go to the warehouse in Albania. They like fly 22 hours or something like that, and Jonah, Ephraim, and David go there, and they're like, "What do you mean all the bullets are here?" And they're like, "All these shipping containers, they are the bullets." And it's just like I think they said 62,000 boxes of ammunition, equaling to over 126 million rounds of ammunition, I think.
Yeah, it was
something
over.
like that.
It was over 62,000 boxes. I remember that.
Yeah, and it's like, oh my god, that's crazy. And all this stuff was. It's so funny because we end up finding out later that all the ammunition was made in China because the Mr. Enver had connections and bought it from China. That's how he made an alliance with China actually during the time he was ruling Albania, which I found kind of interesting. So the Maoist fallout that you're talking about, that's probably what happened. So anyway, so I was reading the Britannica article about it, so it's kind of interesting. While we're here, we have a really funny shot of Jonah Hill holding the AK-47, testing out the ammo, and he's like, yeah, and he's just shooting a bunch. He's like totally like in his Scarface element.
Yeah, and what's the song? "Wish You Were Here" by Pink Floyd is playing.
It's so weird.
Yeah,
that's something we haven't touched on. The music is so weird in this movie. It's just weird choices, I think.
It's kind of like a weird like just combination of like popular like rock and pop songs that somebody of this like somebody of like these characters' age and background and stuff would probably have been into listening to. Like one of the early shots in the movie is you hear the camera is closing in on David's car, and you hear the muffled sounds of Funk 49 by the James Gang playing, and then it cuts to inside his car, and it's playing at full volume, so as if to signal that he's like, this is while he's smoking his doobie that we talked about earlier, to signal that this is what he's listening to in the car. So I think that kind of establishes that this is just music that the characters would have probably liked or listened to, and because it doesn't really have any other connection other than that, I think. Well,
you know what connection they do have? They have the Jewish connection. So you have to throw Beastie Boys in there.
Oh yeah, that was really funny. They're like Ephraim and David are rolling down the highway, and "So What You Want" by the Beastie Boys is playing. And for those who are not in the know, the Beastie Boys were formed by a group of Jewish boys from New York. They started as a hardcore band and transitioned into gangsta rap.
Yeah.
But yeah, so you got "So What You Want" playing as they're driving down the freeway, and then when they get to the neighborhood where they're gonna buy
the weed,
all of a sudden
it goes into urban.
It's a more urban type of gangster rap.
Yeah. Oh, just to let the audience know that we're in a different place, just so you know. What up, gangsta? It's like you're gonna be more on the nose there. So anyway, they go test out this.